We have already seen how set works. Now we will start with concept of function. You see, we all know that how exactly function works. We have written lot of programs using function in C language. So I don't think that we should discuss about how function works. Rather, here I will try to show you how we can write the code for using a function. For example, this is a spider editor where we can write Python code as I shown you previously. Now here the way of writing function is something like we always start with the keyword def, like function definition and some function name. So let's give the function name function, and you see the color is coming in blue. So this is the colors that you will able to through these colors you will able to understand exactly is it a keyword or something like that. Now as you know that a function can take any argument, and you must have some open and close brace, and if you don't have any argument, then fine, there is nothing to represent over here. Now in case of uh, if you want to if you want to you know uh, so for example write some code within the function, first thing is that you must have a colon over here which represents, if you don't write this colon it will throw an error. So once you will write colon, it's coming something like this. Remember, Python language does not rely on any brackets. In case of C, that you have seen everything, if you write a function it have a starting bracket and an ending bracket. But in case of Python there is no such bracket. Then you will definitely ask, then how a Python will able to understand where the function ends and where the other function starts, or maybe other part of the code starts, something like that. Actually Python rely on the indentation, the margin. For example, all the code present in this function will be kept under a margin which is just towards a little right from the margin of definition, as you can see. That's why the cursor is blinking over here. Now for example, I can write say for example a simple print statement, print within bracket and within single quote hello world. Remember, there is no such presence of semicolon after print statement. There is no concept of semicolon in Python. And again, it's coming in this line. But remember, if you want to call this function, it means that calling part should not be under this function. Say for example over here, in that case, your indentation should be at the below. I mean at the left, and you can call function something like this, directly something like this. That's all. Now if you want to say for example if I run this code, this particular code, what I can do, I can just go to this point and you see either you can press F5 or you can click over here. This particular code will run and the output will be printed in the right side console part. So if I click over here, you see the code has been executed, the hello world has came as a console. So it's a very simple one, simplest one basically we have discussed. Now Say for example, let's go for a little more complex part. For example, let's go with some addition of two functions. It's very easy one. So what I will do, I will pass two values here, 10 and 20, and I'm expecting some result. Somewhere, say, for example, in some variable, say x or a. I've written a here. But remember, since you have given these two parameters, definitely you need some parameters here as well. But remember, unlike C, you don't need to go for a specific parameter data type declaration. There is no such concept of declaration of data type in Python. So you can simply write x comma y, then that's enough. Based on the data that you are passing, the Python is able to understand what should be the data type of x and y will be. Anyway, if I omit this part, what I can do, I can simply write a statement something like z equal to x plus y. It's a very simple one. And then you can write return z. Return z. This return statement also you have seen in C. But instead of writing z equal to x plus y, then return z, you can directly write return x plus y. Anyway, so both can work. And if I want to see what exact value it is, for example, I have not given any print statement here, right? So if you run this code, you see there is no error, at least that we can see. By mistake, if you do some error, for example, I put not both parameters, so in that case what will happen, you will get an error here which represents what it is saying: function takes one positional argument but two were given. Okay, so what does it mean? It means that actually you have not given two parameters. That as simple as that. So anyway, if you do this, it's fine, there is no error now. But there is no data printed here. But since this is a GUI environment through which you can run a Python code, and also you can check the variables in this variable explorer part in the right hand side, in this part. So if you click on this variable explorer part, you will see there is a variable name a, which I have written here, and whose data type is int. I have not given any data type. It is decided by the Python based on the program that you have written. The data type of a should be int, whose size is 1, I mean only a scalar value, and whose value is basically 30. So, and this is, you can say, to some extent, you can say a benefit with respect to writing Python code using Spider editor, is that you will have a variables explorer. Every time you don't need to print the result and show in the explorer, in the console. You can check directly from the variable explorer as well what is the result. And another thing is that there are a lot of you know benefit we have using for code debugging and all. Anyway, so that we will learn later. But another very important thing that I want to show you here is that sometimes we can, in this function, sometimes we can keep the default values in these parameters. What does it mean? It means that suppose you want to give some default value in y, and default value is, say for example, 1. In that case, what you will write? You will write y equal to 1. And what does the default value mean? It means that if you don't pass any value for y while calling this function, at that time Python will take to decide that content of y should be 1. So for example, over here, now if I don't write anything, I give only one value in this parameter, you will not get any error. For example, if I run this code, you will see there is no error and the result is given is 11. because since we have passed only one data, so the second one is considered as a default value whose value is 1 default by default. So 10 plus 1 is 11 and I'm getting 11. And this is a very useful feature present in Python. Not only Python actually, there is its feature is present in some other language as well, but it is not present exactly in C. So basically, what is the benefit we can get? That every time, maybe there are some cases, for example, you are writing a function where the function will be used in lot of different cases, and there are some cases where you must have some default value in these parameters. Maybe one parameter must have some default value. Default value means if user does not pass any data, some default value will be considered. So if you have a feature like this, since you have this feature like this, that's why naturally the user don't need to pass the default value every time when the function is called. If user want it some specific value, then user can pass that specific value, for example 30. If users pass a specific value, then the default value will be overwritten by a specific value and the y will be updated by 30 accordingly. And if you see, if you run this code, you will see it's coming 40, because although default value is specified here, but since already you have passed 30, that's why default value is overwritten by 30. But remember one thing, there is a very important point here, that you cannot keep this default value before, default value in some parameters before some parameters which don't have any default value. What does it mean? It means that if I pass this particular, try to run this particular code, you can understand that this code will run fine. But it is not possible that you will write something like x equal to 1 and then y. The default, if you try to do this, if I run this code, you will see what happened. It's given that non-default argument follows default argument, which is not accepted in Python interpreter. Always default argument, argument should be followed. Yes, should be for always default argument should come after non-default arguments. Over here, non-default arguments come later, which is not accepted. That's why if you want to do this for x, then you have to simply write y in this side and then comma write x equal to 1 that side. In that case, you can say that okay, now x equal to 1 will be taken as default and there is no error and I will get some result. So this is a very important feature in Python. There is one more very important feature and very useful things present in Python function, that is, unlike C, we can return more than one value in Python. It means that, for example, I want two different operations. Suppose I have two different operations. Okay, I have two different operations. One is addition and one is subtraction. Just for keeping it simple, I'm just telling you there is two different calculation. One is addition and one is subtraction. So for example, one is z equal to x plus y and another is p equal to say x minus y, and I want to basically need result of both. In case of C language, you have seen that it is not possible to get the result of addition and subtraction at a time from the function. You have to either call the function two times, or you have to have two different functions, one for addition and one for subtraction. But this barrier is not present in Python. In case of Python, you can return multiple values over here. And as you are returning multiple values, naturally you must have two different value over here because you are returning multiple values. So if you run this code, you see what will happen. Since I have passed only 10, that means x is considered as a default argument. So naturally the first one is executed as 1 plus 10, that means 11, and second one is executed as 1 minus 11, that means minus 10. So I have passed z then p, that means in a it is coming addition result which is 11, and b it is coming the subtraction result which is minus 9. That's why you can see here both a and b has some integer and the value is 11 and minus 9, something like this. So this is these are the very important things that you might need to use many times in during writing Python code in function. And uh, okay, so these are the things you have to remember while writing function.